What's going on, everybody? It's Danny the Bull back with another live stream, and Bitcoin is at a new all-time high, 100, and I think it's at $117,000. Absolutely ripping. Hit 118.5. It's at 118 right now. Went as high as 118.7. Ethereum is about to breach on the precipice of $3,000. Things are starting to move after a long, brutal cycle, right? We've been Bitcoin consolidating for the last 200 days. It's been absolutely brutal. People have been waiting for alt season and what feels like forever. But is it finally upon us? Are we finally about to see some big gains in some of our favorite alts? We're going to talk about it, get into Mcade, Devve, all of our favorite alts, talk about some AI coins, talk about the news. As always, let's see who we got in the chat. Sam in the house. What's going on, brother? Please say something about Mint Layer. It's my biggest bag. When ZK Thunder, mainnet launch, Token Factory, DEX, and how many projects have applied $50 million ecosystem fund. Yep. Mint Layer it's been rough, man. It's been one of those alts that's been hammered and beaten down. But I'm still holding my Mint Layer bag. I'm still staking my Mint Layer bag, getting a 40% yield on it. It went up about 5 or 6% this week, which is good to see. A little recovery with the market. But like you say, they have things on the way. Token Factory. They have a bunch of people who've applied to work with that fund. I do know that they have a couple of projects coming in the RWA space that involve Bitcoin. And so I think that Mint Layer is one of those things that didn't move at all, and then it moved all at once. When we look back about a year and a half ago, when we had that last run up, it did 100x really fast. It's at a $5 million market cap. So I'm still holding my Mint Layer. And we'll see what happens. Joss in the house. What's going on, brother? Cash Games in the house. Good to see you. Yes, hit the like. B-Dubs in the house. What's going on, friend? So, as always, a lot to talk about. Is alt season finally around the corner? I'm optimistic about it. You know, I tend to lean bullish, hence the name Danny the Bull. I've expected a big alt run this cycle. Thought it was going to happen earlier in the year. A lot of people thought it was going to happen earlier in the year. It didn't happen, and a lot of people got shaken out. But, you know, it's been rough, but I never got shaken out. I always continued to believe as long as we are in an uptrend, as long as the macro remains bullish, as long as the stock market is making new all-time highs and Bitcoin is pushing up, then you've got an opportunity for that, you know, once every 4 years window of opportunity that they call alt season, when things go absolutely nuts for these small coins. And it is a small window of time that it operates in. All right. So I think what's going to happen, I think it's going to happen in a matter of weeks. And it should be explosive, but let's see how it goes, man. What's up? Any hope for Root? Yeah. I've accumulated a lot of Root over the last couple of weeks. It's up a good 33% off its recent low. I'll pull it up later. I'm going to talk about Root. I'm bullish on Root. Kiwi Jezza, I've got my fingers crossed for alt season. Yeah, I think we all do, man. We're all in the same boat. I'm going to get into Root. I'll get into some of these tokens. Light up the chat as always, but let's look at Bitcoin, a strong impulsive move up. And this is what tends to happen with Bitcoin is we see long periods of sideways action, right? Consolidation. And in this case, it was going all the way back to basically like November. A 200-day sideways move for Bitcoin, just trading in a range, dropping out of the range, and it got a little scary down here when the tariff news hit and there were fears of a recession and people were questioning, is it over? And that was during the April low when our alts got absolutely wrecked. But Bitcoin never lost. It dipped below 77, but it never really lost it. Came back up, got back in the range. And as it does, it broke out of the range, and now it's going to form a new range in an upper region. And we'll see where this thing goes. I think it will tap into 120 on this leg up. Wouldn't be shocked to see it go to 140. Remember that after the last long sideways move, which was in the 50 to like 60, 70 range. Remember when we topped out, we went to 70K, right? Back before the halving. We hit 71,000, and then we went sideways for 6 months, right? Sideways down, bleeding down to 50. I think we might have touched 48, but if you remember that period of time where people are also questioning if it was over, it was another like 200 days of sideways action, and the move up was strong. It was, from 59 all the way up to 106. So now the move currently, we're sitting at 117.8. I think there's room to go up into the 120s. We'll see. And then maybe another period of some consolidation before blow off. Maybe at the end of the year. We'll see how it goes. But a lot of bullish news. We talked about this cycle being special because all of the stars are aligning in terms of regulation and all the positive sentiment in terms of the U.S. government. And this week you've got the Genius Bill. The Genius Act is going to go through, which is huge for it. I think people are underestimating it because it's about stable coins. But what it is setting up regulation for the future of the financial rail system being on crypto. And it's going to onboard trillions of dollars in stable coins into this ecosystem. And a lot of it is going to land on Ethereum because Ethereum has first movers advantage. It's got network effect. It's decentralized, and it's Wall Street's favorite. Sol and Sui are, arguably better technology, although Sol goes down sometimes and is a bit centralized. But Ethereum is still the top dog right now in terms of layer ones, and it stands to benefit a lot from this stablecoin bill. You've got Tom Lee and all these other hedge managers now rushing into Ethereum. People who were a little late on Bitcoin on Wall Street, those who missed the Bitcoin train or got on a little late are now seeing opportunity in Ethereum, and Ethereum is seeing record inflows on their ETFs. If you look at July 10th, which is yesterday, or I think this is the second highest ever, $383 million of inflows. The day before, $200 million on inflows in the ETF. $500 million coming in just 2 days. And if you look back at a few weeks ago, you see that number is just about 5x, 10x in terms of how much money is flowing into Ethereum. And it's starting finally to reflect in the price, which is huge for alts because Ethereum, here we go. We topped 3K, $3,007 on Ethereum. And, historically, it's been Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins. All right. And this cycle, Ethereum has lagged, whether that's because of, a tighter Fed or maybe it's just because Ethereum is a little further along. It's in its cycle. It's not cheap anymore. And so it's not going to do those multiples. Regardless, Ethereum is now starting to move. So this is huge news for the market. We'll look at a couple of more charts on Bitcoin and ETH in a second. But to me, I think this market's going to get really hot in the second half of the year. The stock market has already broke all-time highs multiple times, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and we haven't even gotten to rate cuts yet. I think when we get to rate cuts, things are really going to move, and maybe that's when we see this blow off top in crypto. I'm starting to think that we're going to rise, starting to go up in July. We'll rise a bit through the summer and then get those rate cuts coming in the fall. Because right now, still only a 7% chance of a rate cut for July 30th, according to CME Group FedWatch. But if you look at September, you've got a 67% chance right now. That could always change, but 62% chance of a 25 basis point cut and 4% for half a point. So sooner or later, the Fed's going to cut. And, that's going to, create these bullish tailwinds for this all of risk on assets should fly. And if you remember back to last year, November, December, alts started moving. That also came off the heels of not only Trump getting into the presidency, but also 2 rate cuts. All right, and then things kind of cooled down when Jerome Powell spoke in December and was a bit hawkish and talked more about a pause. So we'll see how this goes. Seeing more rumors of Jay Powell considering resignation. Not quite sure how true this is. I'm seeing it more and more pop up on Twitter. Regardless, there are going to be rate cuts. And if there aren't this year, or if there's only 1 or 2 this year, this guy's going to get replaced next year. Trump's going to put in a sycophant who's going to do what he wants. And I do think this market's getting juiced one way or the other. Just keep your eyes on that stable coin bill and what's being called crypto week. There's some other things happening, some decision making on tax ideas for the industry. So a big week in the news for crypto, on top of Bitcoin now at a new all-time high, and Ethereum pushing higher, $3,009. Let's go. See what we got here. You think micro caps will happen in weeks? I think what I meant by it happening in weeks is I think the biggest gains will take place in a matter of weeks. Not that they'll happen next week or the week after, but when they move, they're going to move within a matter of weeks. So if you look at, let's go to virtuals. I'll pull up a couple. If you look at virtuals, this was sitting on 11/22/2024. So before, in what was, in our last mini alt season, this was the last time when we got into that alt season on that chart. Virtuals was sitting at 30 cents on the 13th of November. And by January 1st, it went to $4.61. So you're talking about more than a 10x move in 7 weeks, 6 weeks. The thing about it is when we wait so long for alts to move, but when they move very violently, very quickly. So I think what could happen is we get a small move up and some dips along the way. I don't think we're going straight up yet. I do think we have to wait for Ethereum to continue its move up, 3,500, 4,000. But when the time comes for our alts, I do think it's going to happen rapidly. And I think that, my strategy is going to be take profits along the way because as fast as they go up, they come down super fast also. You know how that works. So, if you look at Mcade, which also pumped during that time, Mcade on 11.26 was a penny, right where it's at right now. And it did a 400% move in 3 weeks. The majority of it coming in about 5 days, right? On the December 2nd through the 12th, you're talking about 5 to 10 days, a 400% move. So the gains come super fast, and it's important to be positioned and ready. I think there's still time, but yeah, exciting times. Is there enough positive economic indicators to keep this? Yeah, I think absolutely, B-dubs. The economy keeps rolling and the stock market keeps hitting new all-time highs. The NASDAQ, you're even seeing penny stocks start to move and people starting to move up the risk curve in the stock market, which tends to happen as it heats up. If you go back a year or two ago, when the stock market was starting to move and everyone was calling for recessions, they've been calling for a recession for 2 years. It was really the Mag 7 that was moving, right? The top of the big tech stocks. And people were saying that it wasn't really a bull market. It was kind of a selective bull market, right? And now you're starting to see the market flesh out more, and you're starting to see things run hard. I think it's only going to accelerate. And once the Fed turns dovish, those are your economic indicators that are going to push this thing higher and juice the market. So I think the macro is going to align with the fourth quarter, the third and fourth quarter, second half of the year timing. And I think it's a good setup. We'll see. You always have to be cautiously optimistic because, until it happens, it hasn't happened yet. So I'm always cautiously optimistic, but I do think the setup is there and we'll see how it plays out. Black Swan event incoming, aliens. The good thing is that all of that bad stuff, the tariff fears, the recession fears, the wars that have, sparked, that stuff is priced in and the market has digested it and assessed it and moved on. All right. So all the bad stuff is priced in. And now you have more good stuff to get priced in terms of the rate cuts. And, tightening also, even if Jerome Powell doesn't cut on July 30th, maybe they fully end QT. All right, we'll see. Yeah, I saw Tectum up 26% today. Let's go. I think up to 53 cents. What's good, Ron? I think CPI next week is coming in low, and certain people know it, and that might be what sparked the pump. Could be. Could be. Russ, yes. Don't forget to sell this time. And that's what it is, man. DCA in, DCA out. By this point, if you've been in this market for years, since last cycle, and if you've been here for the ups and downs of this cycle, then you should know that you have to sell. If you don't take gains, the market will take your gains, and that's just the way this is. It's blood sport. So make your plan now. And my plan is to just start nibbling on the way up and then take heavier profits as things go higher, because we didn't come here to bag hold, right? We came here to take profits, and I'm not trying to, capture the whole move. It's not going to happen. But if I can take enough money out of the market to fulfill some of my goals, I'll be super happy. Do you think pump fund drop tomorrow will have a negative? I don't think it's going to. I think that I can't see the pump fund drop doing much. I think they're a joke. I think that they have extracted so much money and have been a net negative in the market, and they've run out of money to extract, and now they're going public and trying to, extract money that way, or, coming out with their coin or whatever. I think they were trying to launch at like $5 billion valuation. I don't think it'll do too well. Maybe it'll pump and then dump, but I don't anticipate it having a major impact. But you got, what's interesting is, everyone, this cycle we were all talking about Bitcoin dominance, and a lot of people calling for it to go back to 71%, which it hit in 2021. 2019, 2021, it was higher. And that doesn't count because this is when it was just mostly Bitcoin. But a lot of people looking for 71%. It's pretty much stalled out at 65, 66%. But the encouraging thing is, over the last week, as Bitcoin has ripped higher, it's dipped slightly, right? Which is what you want to see. Bitcoin dominance coming down. And we saw, this is, here we go. So in November of 2024, which is when we had this spike up in that last brief window of alts running right after Trump won the election, Bitcoin dominance fell from 61% to 55%. And that's a 6% move. And it caused, 10Xs, 5Xs in some of our alts. What happens when Bitcoin dominance falls off a cliff, right? And if you go back to last cycle, that's what it did. In December of 2020, 70% came all the way down to 43%, 40%. Huge explosive move in alts. All right, so we're waiting for dominance to fall, for alts for money to rotate, and you're seeing signs of it. I think if you look at the ETH dominance chart over the last week, it's up 6%, right? So Bitcoin dominance is falling, ETH dominance is rising nicely, and so you see that ETH plummeted, right, as it bled hard. But this is good to see Ethereum outpacing Bitcoin. And we've been down here since February, right? So it's been a long, in crypto terms, this is a lifetime. So this is about 5 months in pretty much in Bitcoin season, right? What they call Bitcoin season. And if you look back historically, we don't spend too much more time down here at these lows before alts start to pump again. All right, so the setup again is there. It won't be straight up, right? I think that will zig and zag. There'll be some pullbacks, there'll be some dips, but I would expect another alt season in the coming months. Here we have the others chart, which measures the total market cap of excluding the top 10. All right, so this gives you a more of a picture of the altcoins, and you see a nice uptick. We're currently at $270 billion market cap. In November, we were at $360 billion. The previous alt season that we had in early 2024, we hit $350 billion. So we never really got to clear that. All right. So all eyes are on breaking through, $360 billion and then getting past the previous all-time high, which is back from November 2021, right? $426 billion market cap. And if that happens, all those people that said that there are too many alts and, we're not going to get an alt season, I think they're going to be made to look silly, because I do think that it's going to be a pretty explosive. I don't think it'll be selective if we can, create some new all-time highs around the 400, around the others total market cap. And people ask, well, where's the money going to come from? Right? Retail's not here. Where's money going to come from? Money's going to come from stables. It's going to start there. There's over $250 billion sitting in stables. I think you got $250 billion sitting in USDT, and you've got $100 billion or something sitting in USDC. So what happens when that money gets activated? And it's not, so right now we're at 4% on USDT dominance. If we get into the twos, like we did in 2021, which we haven't yet this cycle, we've gotten into the high threes. We were at 3.8 in December, and we were at 3.9 earlier in the year. We've yet to break below 3.82 on the USDT dominance chart. So if that money gets activated and moved from the sidelines and flows into alts, that's when you get those explosive moves. And the thing about it is $100 billion from, in USDT, 100 billion in stables is equivalent to, 500 billion in alts, because the liquidity issue, right? If you put $1 billion or millions of dollars into alts, you're not moving the chart by millions. You can move it by tens of millions, right? Because of, the LP and how everything works. And so where's the money going to come from? It's going to come from stable coins, and it's sitting on the sidelines, and it's starting to enter the market. We were at a little over 5% in June. Now we're at 4.3. So if this thing can get into, back into the twos, we're going to start cooking, brother. Bullish. Have you thought about toying with low leverage on coins during the bull run? I haven't. It's not really my wheelhouse. Ron loves to do it. He does it in the Telegram. They trade on leverage. I think I'll get into it and learn, but thus far, my game is to stack, buy, stack, sell. Let's go. So, if we get, like I said, if once this USDT dominance falls, Bitcoin dominance falls, the others chart is going to break to the upside. All right, so let's look at that 361 billion as a target. And if we can break through this, then it's going back to 2021 levels in terms of total market cap. And then our alts are going to fly, like Mcade. And Mcade had a rough week. There was a whale or someone who had been trading and dumped like 6 figures worth of Mcade. And the chart came down, got back down to 007, which I think is going to be a great buying opportunity. In hindsight, we're already recovering back to over a penny. But Mcade has a lot of catalysts ahead of it over the next, one thing I love about Mcade is they're always doing something, right? The team is always grinding, and they've got their hands in so many things that there's always news, and then there are always catalysts, right? So they came out with Clubcade, which is for, a marketing program. for promotion involving Kohl's and things like that. They came out with their Drop Zone NFT, which minted over 11,000 NFTs, and that happened over the last couple of weeks. Gangs of Metacadia Season 4 is going to start. They're going to have tournaments launching with very large prize pools that are going to continue to garner attention. They've got their Layer 3 app chain on base coming out. I don't know when, but I'm assuming it's by Q4. And so they're always in the news, right? And so they're always like trending on they have a great social media presence, great community. So it's great when a project has catalysts in a bull run. That's what you want to see. This Tuesday, Russ is going to be on a Neo Tokyo podcast. And so, it wouldn't surprise me if Alex Becker came out one day and talked about them. They're gaining more and more eyeballs. When I first started talking about Mcade, they had very few people talking about them. All right. They've done a great job of growing their socials and building out awareness. So I do think that Mcade's going to do really well. Someone mentioned Root earlier. Root's been beaten down. If you look at this chart, it sucks. It's terrible. But I've liked Root from a fundamental standpoint. I had it on my watch list for the last 2 years. It's a layer 1 ecosystem for gaming, metaverse. They have a lot of AI tools. And I think there's so much opportunity here because of the potential for partnerships. So I know that Bored Ape Yacht Club uses their Think Agents. They partnered with Fluff World, another NFT project. They acquired Candy Digital, and just last week they partnered with FC Barcelona, right, which is huge, to launch their first digital wallet to connect fans worldwide. Connect with fans worldwide, right? This is in collaboration with Futureverse. So Futureverse is basically the toolkit that people can use to build on the Root network. Root network isn't some vaporware. This is like real tech with a very strong community. And I looked at the chart and it looked absolutely decimated. And so I bought a bunch of it at cheap, at this level. And then when it went down to 003 last week, I finished my buys. I loaded up. It's at a $12 million market cap. This is something with an all-time high of, I want to say, 160 million. Early in the cycle, when it first launched, it went to like $160 million market cap right away. Came back up in early this year. It was at 12 cents, which is like a 30x away from here. Yeah, so I do think that there's good potential in Root Network and Root Token. I like the ecosystem. I like the IP that they hold with Candy Digital, which is MLB. They got Back Cowls, they got WWE, Netflix. So they just acquired Candy a couple months ago. Now they're migrating all of this stuff onto Root Network, enabling self-custody, interoperability. Because the whole idea is for Root Network that in the Futureverse, right, you'll be able to create an avatar that will be able to wear your unique bat cowl, and that avatar and character will be playable across different games, right? And you'll mint a digital identity, and all of your experiences will be remembered through AI, Think Agents, and I like Root Network a lot. So we'll see how that goes. I did a bit of buying of that. I bought Hash AI, which had a nice pump. Hash AI is up. It was up about a good 25%. It's cooling off a little now. I may accumulate some more. But I think in my last stream, I talked about buying Hash AI. Right, that's had a nice pump. Then the other one that I've been buying that's beaten down that I think could do well, I got it from community member, Doodle Lover. It's Morphware, XMW, which over the last 7 days, you see this dip right here was caused by a whale selling. So I took advantage and I loaded up down here. I think this could do well. $22 million market cap, $25 million market cap. These guys have been building for 3 or 4 years. They are kind of similar to Hash AI in that they are generating real revenue. Here we go. So they're basically generating like GPU power for for the future of AI and and blockchain. And they generate revenue. They've got a buyback system. So I like Morphware. They've been on my radar for a while. I think this is a good buy at 3 cents. The only thing is that I don't like is that they have a 5% buy and sell tax. They're not widely listed yet. They're basically only on Uniswap. They are on one small exchange that I've been buying on. I think it's OU Bid or something like this. But they do have a 5% buy and sell tax, but they're getting rid of that once they hit, I think, $10 million in revenue from that. They're currently at $7 million. Then they're going to get rid of the buy and sell tax. They're going to the plan is to get listed on some exchanges. $25 million market cap. You see that it did a 4x in April. It went to 15 cents. All-time high of 17 cents back in December. AI is going to continue to rip alongside RWA. Those are my two favorite sectors. And so I want to be positioned in some solid small caps. And so I've been buying these. And I'll likely buy more until price goes up. I'm in accumulation mode still on a couple of these. Yeah, if you want to, Ron's Telegram is a good place to, there's a whole channel in there about leverage plays. Josh says, found the new nickname for Ron's Metal Mouse. He does have quite the click. He does have quite the click on his mouse. What's good, Harish? You know, I had Top Hat, and you probably saw that. They folded and sucked. Spectral is another one that I had sold my bag of it, but I'm still holding for. I control an account for my father-in-law. And Spectral was up 25% today, I think. No, 7%. Maybe it's the whole move up is they're up about 25% from the bottom. This is one that's an AI agent play, but XMW is also an agent play. Let me see. It's not in their hardware. They do something with agents also. They're using NVIDIA technology or something. I would research these guys. They're pretty good. But AI is going to continue to rip. I think I'm going to do a stream talking about a number of AI projects next week. RWA tokenization to me makes the most sense in terms of, everything is moving to blockchain, and huge news last week when Robinhood, we saw this one coming, right? Tokenizing equities for the European customers. And there was just Vlad, the CEO of Robinhood, talked about tokenization being the biggest innovation in the past decade. You're going to see more and more headlines about tokenization, especially after the stablecoin bill gets passed, right? Because that's kind of lays the groundwork and the foundation for a lot of the next steps in the evolution of tokenization. And, I'm positioned through Devve and Rio. LBM has been ripping, which I don't have. And Ron has LBM. I know Frank is a big LBM guy. Frank the Tank. LBM's been on a tear. It's up about 100%. Well, it's up more than that since early June, mid-June. Since mid-June, it's up about 3 or 4x. Still only a $2 million market cap. I thought it was 3. I don't know if this is correct. But Rio, I think, is going to rip. If we get a good alt season, I think Rio is primed to rip. When you look at the socials and the community around Rio, it's super strong. The post that I put out about projects, my Rio posts get maybe more engagement than my Mcade posts. And I'm pretty entrenched in the Mcade community. So super strong community. These guys have been around since they came out last cycle, went to $4, sold off, went as low as a penny in the bear market, came roaring back to $3 back in early 2024. And it moves with the market, which is what I like to see, right? So, back in April, went all the way down to 15 cents, right? I accumulated more in the 15 to 25 cent range. I was buying on the way down. I was buying at 35 cents. But it's recovered, right? It's up 100% off of that. And it's entering a new range, right? 30 cents is the bottom of a new range. If it can hold here, I think you'll get a leg up to about 38 cents or so. But they're coming out with their Freehold wallet, which allows people to tokenize real-world assets with the click of a button in an app. It's approved by Apple. They're just waiting on the last bits of paperwork to go through or whatever for it to be released in the App Store. All right. And so once regulation, around in the space clears, this sector is going to start cooking hard. All right. So I really love the RWA space. People asked if I still like Devve because the price has been down. It's beaten down. It lost 50 cents. Which sucks to see because now things are starting to move. Devve's probably my only red bag this week, right? It lost 50 cents. And when it loses 50 cents, 38 cents is kind of what dipped down to 34 for a minute. This didn't last. Around 38 cents is the bottom of this range. So you could see it bleed out a little more. But I think what's happening with Devve is there's a little bit of fatigue set in because people are waiting for the announcement, right? That was talked about in January. And so it ran hard as a result of that. Is this it? Yeah. So this is back in January when speculation was brewing that it's going to be NASDAQ. And I do think it's going to be NASDAQ. And if it's not NASDAQ, I think it'll be something on par. I think it's going to be a really big partnership. So a lot of hype. It went up. And then I think fatigue set in, right? I think people, it held up really strong when the whole market was down in March and April. It rallied back up to 78 cents, but fatigue set in. I think that once they got a new roadmap coming out. That was supposed to come out in June. The CEO said they're just finalizing it. I think that roadmap will provide a little clarity. They're renovating their website. They've got marketing that's supposed to be taking effect in Q3 and Q4. And then once that exchange hits and that partnership is announced, I think Devve is poised. As always, we'll see. But, we've seen some big gains out of it, some big moves up in the past off of news. And so there are about 10,000 holders on Devve, still not a lot, or 10,000 wallets. Not a ton, which shows that there's a lot of room for growth. Only a $40 million market cap. And it's pretty much now the dilution's out of the way. So I'm still very bullish on Devve. Yeah, XMW has a strong liquidity pool, which is why when this guy dumped, it didn't completely tank the price. I think they have, I want to say, a couple $1 million in the LP. So this is a solid project. If it didn't have that buy and sell tax, I would really love it. All right, but hopefully they can get rid of that in the next quarter or so, right? If they hit that threshold. I want to find, there's a whole dashboard they have with information on their buybacks and things like that. Maybe I'll find it for the next stream. Yeah, Ron says buy on Durbit to bypass the 5% buy and sell. I've been buying on our bit, ORU bit. I think that's is that what you mean, Ron? Let's see what else. Do you think this market will double top? Yeah, in terms of what, B-dubs? You mean in terms of Bitcoin double topping? I don't think so. It looks more like 2017, because if you look at 2021, where are we? I mean, sorry. I don't think it's going to, the way the way Bitcoin's been grinding this cycle is impulsive moves up with very long periods of consolidation, right? So it'll go sideways for 200 days. We saw it back after the halving, right? When it peaked before the halving and went sideways for about 200 days, impulsive move up, 200 days. I think we'll get another impulsive move up. I think it'll go sideways, and I think we'll get a blow off top at the end. And I think that will happen, could happen in November-ish, right? If you project out, and that could coincide with rate cuts, right? Who knows? man plans, God laughs, and all that. But the way it's moving, the way Bitcoin specifically is moving this cycle, I don't think so. What's good, Kevin? Yeah, our bit. Yeah, the good thing about it is that there's also no KYC over there. Well, let's see what else. Drop your comments, what coins you want to look at in the chat, and I will check them out. Someone had mentioned Mint Layer earlier, which is another chart that looks like shit. Absolutely decimated. But over the last 7 days, it's showing some signs of life, right? Up 20% over the last 7 days. This market cap is not right at 1.67. I think the market cap on Mint Layer is more like 5 million, which I think is good price. We saw this get to $1 back in the run in early 2024, and it was very flat and down. So back then too. All right, then it had just an impulsive move up. And the thing about Mint Layer is what I want to see out of them is more marketing, more awareness on socials, right? What Mcade did was fantastic, right? That was, for me, that was early on, that was kind of a missing ingredient for Mcade. What, Naka had a lot of mind share out on X, and you didn't see a lot of people talking about Mcade, but they did an absolutely great job of building out awareness on socials. And I'd like to see Mint Layer do something like that, where they're just growing community online and building out mind share. So I think if Bitcoin tops in October, November, you will get a last leg up. Alts typically run right after. I mean, they end, right? You'll get like maybe a couple weeks after Bitcoin tops. But Joss is right. Let's get it started, brother. Let's get this bad boy going. We've been through a lot, man. It's been rough. But that's my expectation, is that we run, the engine is starting to rev now, and Q3, 4 rate cuts come in and the market gets super hot. Look at XRP's up 25% today. Oh, this is over 7 days, 11% in 24 hours. Starting to see some outperformance from the big caps, which is great. Dogecoin up 11% today. Cardano's up 11% today. Sui up 21% on the week. Stellar up 25% today. 56% on the week, and this likely has to do with the stable coin Genius Act. Yeah, so this is good to see. Hedera 9% up. You're seeing the big caps outperforming. Pepe's been ripping. Pepe's up 33% over the last 7 days, 10% on the day. This is what you want to see. You want to see ETH outperforming Bitcoin and some of the big caps starting to move, and then our small caps to get nice gains. Heard of DMC DeLorean, waiting for alpha electric car, use NFTs for vehicle aspects? I haven't heard of it. I've heard of Run DMC, but not DMC. And Cash asking about LBM. Yeah. I hate chasing something after it's pumped, but the market cap is still low. What I tend to do when I feel like I've missed something, but it's still cheap and I still want it, is I'll throw a little bit at it to satisfy myself and then just DCA. It's at a $2.9 million market cap. Yeah. But it's been about an hour. I'm going to call it a day. Maybe I'll do another stream this weekend. Or maybe I'll get the homie Ron on soon. Thanks to everyone for coming through. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Let's go, baby.